Good afternoon, everyone, especially to our professor, Dr. Roxanne P. Altea. By the way, I am Maria Lucy Membreve, and my task this afternoon is to report about the transcript of records and certificates, the hiring process, and the teaching contract. Let's begin with the transcript of records and certificates. The transcript of records is a documentary proof that the applicant has complied with the basic requirement of completion of an approved course of study and has earned a college degree from a recognized school. An official transcript of record will carry the school seal. Requiring the submission of transcript of records before hiring minimizes the danger of admitting impostors or individuals with bogus credentials into the school system. Transcript of records also provide valuable information regarding the academic achievement of applicants, as well as the course of study completed. For basic education, the required academic programs are Bachelor of Elementary Education or Bachelor of Secondary Education or any undergraduate program, plus at least 18 units of pedagogy. Although good grades indicated in the transcript may not guarantee success in the classroom, by experience, all things being equal and considered, applicants who had at least above average academic performance in college also do better in the classroom than those who just obtained average or even low marks. By law, only those who have passed the examination for teachers conducted by the Licensure Board for Teachers under the auspices of the Professional Regulation Commission or PRC can be certified as teachers and can be hired to teach in any school for basic education in the Philippines. Sometimes schools may hire promising, potentially good teachers who have just graduated from college in March or April and are therefore still without a license at the beginning of the school year in June, provided that the teachers make a written promise to take the examination stated for August of the same year. Now let's proceed to the hiring process. After the submission of an application letter and biodata, the applicant is usually subjected to a battery of tests. These are usually standardized tests that are commercially available and administered by the guidance office. The results of the tests normally indicate the levels of desirable abilities and attitudes of the applicant that can predict, with some level of confidence, reasonable success in performing the teaching task. To this extent, tests can be helpful as added basis, but certainly not the major basis in making decision on whether to hire or not to hire the applicant. They may include tests on IQ, aptitude, interest, value, and other desirable teaching attitudes. So these are the guidelines in the selection of appropriate tests by the Association of Teacher Educators in SAFARTH in the year 1991. First, tests should be validated for the purpose for which they are to be used. Second, tests should have a rational relationship to the job to be performed. This means that they should be chosen to measure knowledge or teaching techniques. Third, cut-off scores on tests should be determined by an accepted empirical procedure rather than by arbitrary means. Fourth, individuals should not be rank ordered on the basis of test scores unless strong evidence exists that the test process criterion validity. Then the last one, test scores should not be used to discriminate against a group or an individual. The performance of the teacher during the demonstration lesson is evaluated through the use of a well-developed instrument designed for the specific purpose. Although this instrument is supposed to determine the same skills and competencies measured in the summative evaluation instrument for practicing teachers, it is common for schools to use a different instrument to allow flexibility in the evaluation process. After all, what is being evaluated is fitness or readiness to handle a teaching assignment instead of actual teaching performance, which is supposed to be a product of instructional supervision and classroom experience. Several interviews may be necessary to be conducted by different personnel. These are supposed to show the many facets of the applicant that may not be detected from documentary pieces of evidence. One important information that interviews reveal is the language facility of the applicant. Likewise, the applicant may share important information about himself or herself during the interview that can be important basis for determining his or her fitness for classroom teaching. An experienced interviewer can also detect personality problems that may be sufficient reasons for rejecting the prospective teacher. So, as part of the selection strategy, the validity of the interview depends largely on the skill of the interviewer, by Seyfarth in the year 1991. Proper training can develop the skill. Lack of interviewing skill usually results in failure of the interview to extract adequate information needed to make a good judgment regarding the applicant. An important skill in conducting the interview is the ability to put the applicants at ease during the conduct of the interview. Good interviewers avoid using words that might put the applicants on the defensive. They make sure that their body language demonstrates interest in what the applicants are saying. The selection and hiring process is best conducted by a committee rather than an individual. When several authorized personnel, such like subject area coordinator, vice principal, grade level head, and principal, participate in scrutinizing the documents submitted by an applicant, conducting the interview and evaluating the demonstration lesson, the screening and the decision-making stages have higher probability of accuracy rather than when these phases are handled by the principal or the vice principal alone. Now let's proceed to the teaching contract. As a rule, the agreement that governs the employer relationship between the school and its teachers is embodied in a written employment contract. The terms and conditions in the contract have the force of law, of which both contracting parties are obliged to comply with in good faith. According to the Manual of Regulations for Private Schools in the year 1995, every contract of employment shall specify the designation, qualification, salary rate, the period and nature of services, and its date of effectivity, and such other terms and conditions of employment as may be consistent with laws and the rules, regulations, and standards of the school. A copy of the contract shall be furnished to the personnel concerned. The preceding legal requirements for contracts conform to what Lunenburg and Ernstein in the year 2000 have enumerated as the general elements in contracts such as offer and acceptance. It pertains to the job description, salary, and period of contract. Next, competent parties. Those are authorized by law to enter in a contractual obligation. The teacher who is certified by law and the authorized school administrator. The third one is the consideration. It pertains to the promises made by the both parties. The teacher promises to perform the specified services, while the school guarantees to pay the specified salary on a specified date. Fourth, legal subject matter. It is the mutual assurance between the teacher and the school that the job as well as its performance is in accordance with law. Then the last one is the proper form. It is an indication that the contract is valid because all legal requirements are followed. A teacher's contract should specify the services and duties to be performed and all other terms of employment. The particulars in the contract may vary, but generally teacher contracts may include details on sick leave, time of employment, tenure, and how it is granted, various rights, such as the right to a hearing or grievance procedure, and even the school and level to which he or she may be assigned. These policies and procedures of the school are usually contained in faculty and administrative handbooks. The provisions of the Manual of Regulations for Private Schools and rules and regulations of the Department of Education and in the collective bargaining agreement and should be considered part of the contract. That would be all. Thank you and God bless us all.